We are preparing. Okay, should be good now.
Thank you. It is now 1:15. I will call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. And first, I would like to have the land acknowledgement, and immediately following, Dusty, would you like to make introductions of new staff members, please? Please start with the land acknowledgement. Thank you, Dusty.
1 second here, I'll pull that up. Electronic device shut down here in between, so you give me 1 second and we'll get that right out here.
Dusty, I have no sound.
I'll be right back. Right.
Guys, for some reason the electronic device came out there. So we would like to take this time to recognize that the land on which we gather is in the traditional territory shared between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe Nations, and the Adirondack Neutrals. First Nations people have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and air in southwestern Ontario, and we are thankful for the opportunity to live, learn, and share with mutual respect and appreciation.
Thank you for that, Dusty. And now would you like to introduce the new staff members, and hopefully they will be able to say a couple of words to introduce themselves.
Sure. So our newest member to the team is Alan Bradford. He prefers Al, and he is our conservation area supervisor. He left the job with the Bayham Township and the Roads Department to come enlighten us at Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. And I can only say nothing but good things thus far. Alan, would you like to take a second to introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's a pleasure being back. I originally was here right out of high school co-op, and then I worked here for 8 to 10 years afterwards here in the park, and then did a couple of winter contracts for Catfish Creek. So it's a pleasure being back and bringing the knowledge that I've gained over the past 25 years.
Welcome, Al. Are there any other introductions since I don't have camera?
I think everybody else has been introduced already. Yes.
Very good. Thank you. And then I would like the board members, starting with Sally. Would you like to introduce yourself to Al? And then we'll have Rick, and then I'll introduce myself. Please go ahead, Sally.
Thank you. Al, I did meet because I was on the interview committee. So Al met me and knows who I am, but I am the mayor of Central Elgin at this time. And I'm Central Elgin's rep on this board. And I've actually served on this board now for 16 years. And before that, I was a volunteer. And even during part of that time, I was a volunteer and did the maple syrup program as the interpreter for 10 years. So I've been very involved with catfish for many years. So that's who I am, Al.
Very nice.
Rick?
Yes, thank you. Al and I had met before previously on one of my trips here. Find out we had a lot in common. Both worked for the same guy in tobacco and things like that. So I get a lot of feedback on his work ethic and things from the guy that I now work for. And like Dusty said, it's all good. And I'd like to welcome Al to the team. I would say that we're small, we're mighty, and it's good to get good people like yourself, keep it that way. So thanks and welcome.
Thank you.
And Al, my name is Lori Baldwin Sands. I represent the city of St. Thomas, and I am a city councillor for the city of St. Thomas and the current chair of Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. You are very welcome to the team, and again, I do hear great things about you, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next item I have is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions, omissions that people would like to present? Then Sally, can I get you to move the agenda? And Rick, could you second it, please?
Yeah,
I so move.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, is there anyone opposed? Calling the second time, is there anyone opposed? The agenda is carried. Thank you all. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest with any items on the agenda? Moving forward, Susan has told us that this is live streaming on Facebook. Are there any other audio video recording taking place right now?
I'm just make a correction there. It's actually going to YouTube, not Facebook.
Thank you. The adoption of minutes, the full authority meeting on May 12th, listed on pages 3 to 6 on your agenda. Can I get a mover for the adoption of those minutes, please? Rick, would you like to do that? Thank you. Sally, would you second it?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussions on the adoption of the minutes? Seeing none, is there anyone opposed? Calling the question a second time, is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, we'll call those minutes adopted. Next is the interview committee meeting held on June 2nd, 2022. Can I get someone to move? Sally, will you move?
I will.
And Rick, will you second? Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion on from the interview committee meeting? Seeing none, as printed. Is there anyone opposed to those minutes? Calling a second time, is there anyone opposed? Then I will call those minutes adopted. Was there any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, are there any special delegations for this afternoon? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. First, I have Peter Dragunis, then Garrett, then Brittany. Please, let's hear your reports.
I been working on some questions from Malahide Township regarding the February 22nd ice mitigation. They were completed. Update to the CCCA flood watch and warning procedures document. Continuing with Lake Erie and shoreline flood outlooks, monitoring for any issues there. Monitoring low flows, even though we monitor the low flows and have been just data wise, but officially we're not going to start that till 2024. So in preparation for the mandated programs, I have to review our whole CCCA low water response documents and teams and everything. working on erosion and slope stabilization, slope mapping, sorry, classifications for the CCA administrative area, again, in preparation for 2024. And administering the 50 million tree program for the 23 planting season. And for the upcoming activities, continue the monitoring of Lake Erie, the 2023 tree planting, low water monitoring, and working on the 2024 mandated program things that I had mentioned earlier. There's a few of them that we have to do, and continue with the any kind of requests, which is they come at us relatively steady with the February 2022 flood in Malahide, our responsibilities and ice mitigation, etc. That's it.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for Peter?
I have a question, Peter.
Thank
Okay,
you, Rick. Go ahead.
Rick, can you go closer because I can barely hear you?
Okay, I speak louder. Is that better?
Marginally.
Okay, just wondering why all the ponds and everything are starting to get green and.
Again, you're breaking up, Rick. I'm sorry. You have to get
What
close.
is that?
Rick, you're gonna have to get closer. You are breaking up.
Okay, hang on.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, that's better.
The internet's not working the best today here, unfortunately.
Okay, Peter, my question to you was all the farmers ponds.
Okay, no, it's not working. I can't hear Rick. He's really breaking up. Dusty, you were clear, but Rick is really breaking up.
Is this any better, Peter?
Yes.
Much better.
Okay. Just my question to you is all the ponds and all the still water that's around is turning quite green at this time of year. Now, is that due to the weather, the hot, humid weather what we're having, or what's the cause of that?
If I understood you, what's the cause of the water quality because of the low water? Is that what you're asking?
Well, just low water or whatever. It's just green.
He's
I don't
saying
know. I'm gonna try to answer that as best as I can, Rick. Well, with low water, you're gonna have standing and there's no moving water, and all that becomes stagnant and things. As there is less water, there's more nutrients, which will grow more algae, etc. The nutrients become concentrated because there's not the dilution of the nutrients isn't there. It becomes more concentrated, and so you'll have a lot more algae growth and etc.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions? Sally, did you have any comments or questions for Peter?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Peter, with the Port Bruce, the flood and the questions, et cetera, that you're getting. I know you've met with Malahide to try and streamline how notifications go out, et cetera. Is there new mapping being done at all of the flood zone now that we saw how badly it flooded, or is that still the same mapping?
Well, if I could, we're still using the same mapping, but I could pass that. I defer that question to Dusty because he's dealt with Malahide on this issue. So maybe Dusty, you can answer the Malahide's position on that.
Yeah, we're still dealing with the same mapping. We put in a request. It is a category 1 subject. So they already paid for those programs. So they have asked us to diligently move ahead with that and try and make ends meet to complete that in a good timeline. So what I've applied to the flood, the 5th study right now, and I've been filling that grant out in hopes to secure the other half to complete the floodline updates.
Thank you, Dusty.
Yeah, as
Yes,
of
if
now,
you
we
refer to
only have.
correspondence at the end, it kind of spells the tale.
Yeah, as of now, we need more funding to complete those flood lines.
Any further questions, Sally?
No, that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that report, Peter. The next I have Garrett. Garrett, would you like to take the floor, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and other board members. Past activities there, I met with some private landowners who are interested in completing some stewardship projects on their land. And I've worked on developing some conceptual plans with those landowners so I can send them off to our various funding partners to try to secure funding for those projects. As well as I had the opportunity to attend the Elgin County Stewardship Council. They hosted a summer tour meeting, so we got to go visit some of their previous stewardship project sites, such as the old Port Stanley lagoons, where they have turned those into wetlands. Very good, informative meeting. Got to make some new connections with some other funding partners and get to meet more people in the stewardship world. As well as I've completed and issued work permit applications to private landowners who are going to conduct work within our regulated area, as well as monitoring work permits for compliance with our work conditions attached to those work permits. As well as attended some planning application meetings with our member municipalities and private landowners who are looking to conduct some work within proximity of either a natural heritage or a natural hazard feature. As well as numerous different meetings in regards to municipal drain works that are going to be happening here in the near future through a couple of our different municipalities. As well as had a meeting to discuss some preliminary discussions with Oxford County staff members in regards to their upcoming official plan update. Then as for upcoming activities, more work permit, continuing to handle the work permit applications as they come in, as well as the planning applications, and more monitoring of those existing work permits to make sure conditions are followed until a project is completed. As well as continuing to discuss stewardship projects with our funding partners as more landowners continue to reach out with their interest to get involved with some stewardship projects on their lands. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. Questions for Garrett? Sally?
No, I don't have any questions for Garrett. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, any questions for Garrett?
No, quite thorough.
Thank you very much. We will move on to Brittany. Brittany, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and other board members. So my current activities, I interviewed 2 potential applicants for gate attendant in June and had 1 successful candidate. Oversaw visitor center operations, seasonal camper administration. I met with Chris Smith from MyFM about an ad campaign that would promote spring water conservation area and Positively Elgin, an event that we have here in July. With researching grants for the Poplar Hill Playground, maintained social media channels and posted entertaining content. Also, conservation area supervisor in preparation to Positively Elgin. Al and I met with the Friends of Spring Water to discuss fundraising, horseshoe tournaments, and in addition to the Poplar Hill Pavilion. For social media channels to post a source protection water campaign. Al and I met with Dean from the Canada Mental Health Association to discuss booking an educational program and day activities. Rick and I hired a gate attendant in July. Donor guides for the Poplar Hill Playground to potential donors. Inquired with Ontario Heritage Trust about the process of having a heritage plaque resurrected in front of the Springwater Schoolhouse and any heritage funding opportunities. And I monitored the Catfish Creek Conservation Authority website for inquiries. Upcoming activities I have planned to oversee visitor center operations, seasonal camping administration, and to maintain social media channels and post relevant and entertaining content.
Thank you very much, Brittany. Are there any questions for Brittany?
I'd like to ask one.
Thank you. Go ahead,
The-
Sally.
The heritage plaque. We do a lot of those in Central Elgin, but we have a heritage committee that does those rather than, you know, a provincial plaque. But we follow the guidelines, and I'm not certain the schoolhouse is significant enough for a provincial plaque, but certainly there's no reason we couldn't, even as you know, Catfish Creek itself, do a nice plaque on the school with its history. And one, I just wanted to say, Brittany, I appreciate the fact that you are now giving a report. It's nice to know. It helps, you know, members know exactly what all staff are doing. Thank you.
I was glad to do one.
Thank you for that. Brittany, is there any feedback from the questions from Sally? Brittany? Is that direction? To take a look at those opportunities?
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Okay. Rick, do you have any questions for Brittany?
No questions, all. I think excellent report. I think for the job you get hired to do and the job you're doing, you're doing an excellent piece of work.
Thank you.
So thanking all staff members for their reports. Do we have a motion to accept those
Sorry, 1
reports?
second, there is an amendment. We forgot Alan's name on for his very first report. So we'll have him read that and then we'll make the amendment after in regards to his name being under there.
My apologies. Please, Al, I didn't even ask. Please, Al, would you like to go ahead with your report?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and board members and staff. So I started on July 5th. So basically, I assisted making sure that we provided environmental education programs to the St. Thomas YMCA, visiting Springwater for a week-long day camp. I also started to learn again the current CCCA policies, operation procedures that go along with my position, just to re-familiar myself with everything. Also started looking at areas within Springwater that need repairs or upgrades, setting a priority list from high to low so that we can get some things in place and started. Also started the application process for Save on Energy retrofit program. Also looked into the continuous safety services program through the Electrical Safety Authority. Sourcing out also recycling garbage options for Springwater Campground. Just day-to-day operations and maintenance of the various conservation areas. Just attending with seasonal campers and along that. In July, we also hosted Positively Elgin, I believe for the second time. It was basically focused around the world of dogs and so forth. They had an agility course, dog jumping off the docks. The event just overall was a huge success. I also took notes for next year to improve logistics for parking and set up areas for the event, just to kind of make things a little streamlined, all into place a bit better. We also hosted the Barrows Family Jamboree from June 29th to July 2nd over in our area. I believe they've been attending for quite a few years. The Canada Day weekend was a success, even that was prior to my start. But I believe we were all overflow areas were utilized. There was no major problems. There's one site evicted that I was aware of. I spoke with staff a bit more on that, and I'd like to look at everyone understanding mental health situations. And I think some training would be beneficial for everyone around that. Also source quotes for some two-way radios or basically we now have seamless, like a safe and seamless way to communicate while we're working out in the field. Host the Southwestern Ontario Alcohol Anonymous picnic, July 13th to the 15th. They camped in our big use area as well. And as for upcoming events for the month of August, there was also a big camp coming up with the YMCA, just ongoing operations, maintenance, security within all this. I'm in process of getting some installed at the upper parking lot for Archie Coulter. Everything has come in and it's just a matter of making that happen now. Organizing some large company events for August over in the day area. Assisting the visitor service coordinator with the programming activities for Springwater CA. Also, obviously, seasonal paper admin items, and we're currently working on hazard tree removal list, firewood, and general maintenance and operations.
Al, that last sentence was completely gone for me. Can you repeat it, please?
Hazard, just making a current list for hazard tree removal, firewood processing, and just general maintenance and operations within the CA.
Thank you for repeating that. Are there any questions from the members?
No.
Nothing from
No.
Rick? Nothing from you, Sally?
No,
Well, Al, welcome aboard and thank you for your first report.
Thank you.
And do we need to move the staff reports?
I would move that we accept the staff reports as presented.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Any further discussion on those staff reports? Asking the question a second time. Any further discussion on staff reports? Then we'll consider those items carried. Our next item is the report FA 28-2022, the June summary of revenue and expenditures. Susan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The next report is July, which is more up to date than June. So I usually recommend that we just gloss over the June report and skip to the July report so that we can speak to current figures, if that's okay.
What is the wish of the board?
I agree.
Fine with me.
Thank you. So
Excellent.
then I will get a mover and a seconder for the June summary.
I'll move it.
Thank
I'll
you, Sally. Thank you. Since there is no discussion, we will move forward to the July summary of revenue and expenditures. Susan?
Thank you, Lori. So I'd like to point out the most significant, of course, thing that's going on right now is the conservation areas revenue. And we're looking compared to 2021 at the end of July, quite significantly higher. And I'd point out that the expenses are also lower. So we're looking really good so far. Not as much as we budgeted for the whole year yet, but we have all of August and some more events there to come in. So we're hoping to get to that budgeted number, but we won't know yet. But I'm happy to say that we're quite a bit over 2021. And if you scroll, if you look down towards the donation section, I want to point out the line for only just the fundraiser had only just started, but we had received 700. There has been more coming in this month in August. So I think that our total is now up to $3,200 with some of the some bigger contributions, but we'll detail that more later. But it's starting to work. So if anybody can continue to promote it, that would be fabulous. think there's anything more significant unless anybody noticed something they'd like to ask.
Anyone would like to make some comments on Susan's report? Seeing then, I would just like to compliment the creative avenue that you've taken towards the fundraising for the equipment. I think that was very innovative, and I congratulate all of the staff
Thank you.
for that initiative. So seeing no further questions for July summary of revenue and expenditures, can I get a mover for that report, please? FA 29. Thank you, Rick. Sally, second.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there any further discussion? Calling it a second time. Any further discussion? We'll consider that motion passed. Next item is accounts paid. Susan, floor again is yours.
Thank you, Lori. This now again is all of the checks for accounts payable that have been issued since our June meeting. You'll note that online payment, those are any of the transactions that we're paying the accounts through the CIBC through our bank account online now. You'll see a lot of everyday expenses for mostly, again, Springwater Conservation Area. You'll see that we've now done the third and fourth installation of taxes for most of the municipalities, but Malahites has not come in yet, so we still have Malahites to go.
Susan, you have disappeared.
Sorry. I just stopped talking. I was scrolling through to see if there's anything more significant to point out. I don't see anything that really is substantial, but if anybody noticed an item on the list that they'd like to ask, I can go ahead and answer those.
Okay, from the members, are there anything particular that you would like on the accounts paid?
No, I'm just always shocked by the hydro bills.
Yes, June and July, well, mostly July, August are the most, the significant hydro usage. And we'll have a report at the next year's first. We do it at land management. We do have a nice report for you to show the comparison of the hydro usage from year to year. So that will be interesting to see how we're doing compared to last year when we look at that.
Thank you for those comments. Rick, do you have any questions in regards to the accounts paid?
No, I'm good with it.
Thank you. He is not here, but I would like to thank.
I'll move it.
I just had a quick comment, Sally, that I would like to thank Paul Buckner for
Sorry.
coming in and making sure that the checks were signed and everything on the business side was moving through and following through properly. So Sally, you would like to move?
Yes, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Rick. Any further discussion? Calling a second time. Then we will consider the accounts paid passed. Next is the report by Garrett in regards to approved Section 28 regulation applications. Please, Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. This report is just an update on our Section 28 permits that I have since the last report was made by Tony. So as you can see from the report, it's a good spread actually of permits across the watershed from south to the north, east and west. It's actually kind of evenly spread out across the watershed for some reconstruction of some houses, a new construction of a house, a couple works to garages, as well as some erosion works happening on the banks of a drain as well for one property owner. There are some erosions, they wanted to complete some works for that. And then permit for raising a house down in Fort Bruce as well. If there's any further questions, I'll gladly answer them.
Thank you, Garrett. Are there questions for Garrett from the members? Mine is a very quick question, Garrett. In regards to the erosion, are they finding that this year there is more erosion? There any change year over year, or are you finding people are reporting that it's just normal erosion over year? Is there been any effect of the erosion factor?
Thank you for that. This erosion was erosion that they've noticed happening over a number of years. And so they wanted to get some work done on it to limit the encroachment of this erosion to protect more of their property.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that answer. Okay, is there anything further from the members? Seeing none, can I get a mover for that report?
I'll move it.
And
I'll
Sally, will
second.
you second? Thank you very much. Asking if there's any further questions for Garrett. Second time, we'll consider that adopted. Thank you very much. Next is Provincial Offenses Officer appointment. Dusty, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today we're looking to appoint Austin Verbeek as a provincial offenses officer with the primary purpose of prohibiting activities on CCCA lands and also helping out Garrett, myself, or whatever it need be in regards to Section 28 compliance. So it's always nice to have a second set of eyes on sites like that, so there's no he said, she said. We're responsible for enforcing regulations under Sections 28 and 29 of the Conservation Authorities Act, and the legislation enables CCCA to appoint a provincial offenses officer for this purpose. Section 28 regulation is in place to regulate or prohibit development, interference with wetlands, alterations to shorelines and water courses. Section 29 regulation is in place to regulate or prohibit activities on CCCA properties. We maintain provincial offenses officers on staff to perform compliance and enforcement duties under Section 2829. In March of 2022, Mr. Verbeek was successfully completed the Conservation Authority Compliance Training Level 1 course. It's an intensive training opportunity specifically provided to Conservation Authority staff who wish to be appointed as a provincial offenses officer. In addition, a Canadian police certificate has been obtained for Mr. Verbeek with no issues identified. He will be primarily responsible for ensuring compliance and enforcing Section 29. However, he may also be called upon to assist with ensuring compliance with Section 28, Ontario Reg 146, development interference, wetlands, and alterations to shoreline and water courses. So what we're doing today is looking for recommendation that Austin Verbeek appointed as a provincial offenses officer number 104 under Sections 28(1)B and E of the Conservation Authorities Act.
Thank you very much for that. So you would like a motion
Yes.
from the board in regards to Austin Verbeek? Can I get a mover for that, please?
I'll move it.
Thank you. Sally, will you second?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion on that motion?
I have just a question for Dusty. How many offense officers now? You said it's pretty much.
That's 3 now. That's 4, but if I'm putting Austin would make 3 now. What is that 4? But I'll obviously try to get off once we're back to 3 like we always say.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Sally, any questions?
No, I keep turning my sound off because my neighbors got their radio blasting really loud. So if you want, that's why I'm turning my sound off all the time.
Very much
No, I
appreciated.
have no
then.
questions. I agree with.
Thank you. So if there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a second time. No further discussion, we'll consider that motion passed. Thank you to Austin. Thank you, Dusty, for that report. And we will move on to the next report. Peter, low water response. The floor is yours back again, Peter.
Okay, it's a long report. I'm not gonna go through reading it. You've all got it. But I'm just gonna touch on a couple points on it. In that, in 2019, sorry, the Ontario government no longer provided funding for the Ontario Low Water Response Program. So it was terminated at Catfish Creek, but I did maintain data collection and looked at low water internally according to the low water manual guidelines. So we continued collecting data, but it wasn't presented anywhere. So now what we've come to is today's in that under the new amendments of the Conservation Authority Act in 2024, the Ontario Low Water will be mandatory, and that Catfish Creek is restoring it, obviously mandatory. So with that, I have to go through and dust off some of the our manuals and our low water response teams, etc., and come up with new thresholds, because the ones that are put out by the government, we would be in low water almost all the time. So I'm addressing the low water level 1, 2, and 3 thresholds, particularly 1 and 2. So that's where that's at. And again, since there's no guidelines, government guidelines for these, I'm going to try to follow what's there to the best of our ability, but we'll have new thresholds for this, for the Ontario Low Water, for CCCA. When I come up with that, it will be presented to the board for approval. And any questions? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Any questions for Peter on the report?
No, I'm just glad to hear that they are reinstating it because I thought it was very foolish taking it away.
Thank you for your comment, Sally. Rick, any comment?
Other than the fact I agree with Sally 1,000%.
Thank you. And I agree with Sally as well. So thank you for making those comments. So nothing further for Peter. Calling the question a second time. Can I get a mover to accept that report first, please? Sally, would you like to move that?
Yes, I'm happy to move.
Thank you. Rick, second.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So I'll ask again, any further questions for Peter? Seeing none, we'll consider that report adopted. Our next is report FA 34-2022 with Dusty. Dusty, the transition plan progress report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to take this time to update the members on our first quarterly progress report under Ontario Regulation 687/21. It was submitted to the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks. On October 7th, 2021, Ontario Reg 687/21, transition plans and agreements for programs and services under section 21.1.2 of the Conservation Authorities Act was passed, requiring conservation authorities to submit quarterly progress reports to the MOECP, and the progress reports will detail any comments or feedback submitted by our member municipalities referred to in clause 5 regarding the inventory. So I had to provide a summary of changes that the authority has made to the inventory to address comments or feedback, and another summary of changes to the inventory, an update on the progress of our negotiations and cost apportioning agreements with participating municipalities, and an outline of any difficulties we've come across as an authority that may affect the ability of the authority to conclude any cost apportioning agreements with one or more of our members. The CCA's Q1 progress report was attached to Appendix 1, and it's been submitted to all 5 participating municipalities and to the MECP to meet the first quarterly report deadline, outlining the consultation steps that have been undertaken to date with CCCA's participating municipalities. There are 6 quarterly reports in total due throughout the transition, throughout the second phase of the transition period, and on October 1st this year, and 4 in 2023. A final Conservation Authority report will be due January 31st, 2024. So today I'm looking for a recommendation that the Conservation Authorities Act quarterly progress report on Ontario Reg 687/21 transition plan for services this information at this time. Is there any questions on the transition plan and progress report?
Thank you. I'll open the floor up for questions for Dusty on the transition plan. Go ahead, Sally.
I would just like to commend him on the very clear report, and I've certainly read the ones coming to Central Elgin and very much appreciate all the work that he's doing on this.
Thank you. Comments, Rick?
No, everything is well.
Thank you very much. So then Sally, would you like to move the report?
Yes, I'm happy to move it.
Thank you. And Rick, you'll second it for me? Thank you very much. So asking a second time, are there any questions for Dusty on this report? Seeing none, we'll consider that adopted. Thank you. The next item is the inventory of programs and services update. Again, Dusty, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is kind of an update from our July 1st progress report. Since then, I have made contact with all upper management from all 5 member municipalities. I have drafted a draft planning a memorandum of agreement and I put it out to all upper management for amendments, and so we can make these agreements work with our member municipalities for what each individual member wants to see or might like to see in regards to programming or services that are not category 1. So any category 2 programs have to have a memorandum of agreement signed. So I made one up for what we used to call our special benefiting levy, and that was in regards to planning that wasn't, it basically covered all our planning off that isn't a category 1. So natural heritage, subdivisions, minor variances and consents, etc. I've also created a blanket memorandum of agreement that just all member municipalities will sign, and it just basically divulges that they agree with our list of inventory of programs and services. Once draft agreements are finalized by upper management and fulfill/meet the requirements and needs of members, agreements will be brought to the board of directors for approval. Agreements and a finalized inventory of programs and services will be circulated and signed by our member municipalities, which will conclude the requirements of Regulation 68721, Section 8, transition plans and agreements for programs and services under Section 21.1.2 of the Conservation Authorities Act. So again, today we're looking for a recommendation that the board support this information at this time.
Thank you, Dusty. Any questions? Sally, any questions? Rick, any questions?
No, I'm good.
No.
I might just add too that a lot of these agreements are starting to stream back in. I think the first one I will have accomplished is Southwest Oxford. I've been working with Gord Huff back and forth. Southwest Oxford, it's kind of different than our other member municipalities. We go straight to Oxford County and we work with them, and then they go lower tier to Southwest. So when I'm dealing with them, I don't deal with Southwest Oxford. I actually deal with Gord Huff out of Oxford County, and we complete everything, and then he'll ship it down to Southwest Oxford for completion. I know St. Thomas and Central Elgin, I believe, are working together on their agreements and going to put something out. And I've also got a draft copy back for comment from Andy Brazell from the town of Elmer. So everything's moving along well.
Thank you for that additional update, Dusty. Any questions on that additional information? Seeing none, Rick, would you like to move this report?
I would.
Thank you very much. Sally, second.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Calling a question a second time. Is there anybody have any further questions for Dusty on this report? Seeing none, we'll consider that adopted. Our next is the Conservation Ontario Council meeting report. Dusty?
So myself, thank you, Madam Chair. Myself and Lori sat through Conservation Ontario's AGM and the council meeting. The general manager, secretary, treasurer, we both attended. It was virtual on June 20th, 22. And I've highlighted some of the meeting here. So Conservation Ontario's comments on the regulatory proposals for phase 1 and phase 2 under the Conservation Authorities Act. The first phase is completed, and Conservation Ontario's putting out a lot of draft guidance in regards to what needs to be completed for phase 2. So they're busy at that. They're going to continue to support conservation authorities in successful implementation of the second phase of the transition period. They plan on having some training on budget and apportionment regulations for the development of our 2024 budgets. And they will continue to support CAs in successful implementation of the December 31st, 2024 mandatory deliverables. They provided an update on their Conservation Ontario Client Service and Streamlining Initiative. They're working diligently to improve client service and accountability, increase speed of approvals, and reduce red tape and regulatory burden, while at the same time not jeopardizing public health and safety or the environment in the process. The Nature Smart Climate Solutions Program update as well. They will successfully coordinate funding and partnerships to implement the Nature Smart Climate Solutions projects. Future updates to council will highlight examples of projects that are being implemented, as well as funding and collective process on reduction of GHGs and the co-benefits. Canada Nature Fund Program updates. Conservation Ontario has been advocating for land securement through this fund for years. They've participated in various data collection, cataloging projects with Environment and Climate Change Canada, Ontario Parks, conservation authorities, and consultants. They're pleased to see conservation authority properties finally being recognized for the protection they provide for species at risk and their value for biodiversity and conservation. We're pleased to see the new CA land acquisitions become eligible for funding at the federal level, and they're excited to be able to administer this funding. It allows conservation authorities to create connections between protected areas through priority acquisitions. An update on Bill 109, it received royal assent on April 14th. Prior to the writ being dropped for the provincial election, the Progressive Conservative government committed to utilizing Housing Affordability Task Force report as a long-term roadmap for housing in Ontario. Conservation Ontario is going to continue to work with the provincial government as they work to improve housing affordability in the province. Business development and partnership updates. They've been advocating for securing investments in conservation authority programs and services in the provincial climate change impact assessment strategy, completion and launch of for the Ontario insurance brokers about flood erosion risk management in Ontario and the role of conservation authorities, which was produced in collaboration with the Insurance Brokers Association of Ontario. This will be the first year of implementation of Conservation Ontario and Environment Climate Change Canada. The $9 million Nature Smart Climate Solutions Initiative was completed, and it's summarized in the June Council report. Ontario's flooding strategy efforts to advance flood mapping commitments continue to work with the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and Natural Resources Canada. It included a recent webinar for CAs and municipalities on the flood hazard identification and mapping program. So that's the program I'm looking at, subsidizing the other half of the flood lines through currently. And then there was a list of consent items. So today we're looking for a recommendation that report FA 36/2022 be received as information.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for Dusty? Any comments? Rick, you're good?
I'm good.
Would you like to move it then, please?
I certainly will.
Sally, second.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'll ask a second time if there are any further questions on this report. Seeing none, we'll consider it adopted. Next item is the conservation area workshops. Dusty, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So today I'm seeking permission to send one staff member to the annual conservation areas workshop. I think it's very important, even though we're a small organization, to put our name out there, to be active in the conservation authority world. These between maternal and the conservation area workshops are two of some of the best symposiums that CO offers in the year, and I think they're very relevant and provide a lot of pertinent information. So the workshop is going to be October 27th, the 26th and 27th. It's going to be held at the Fern Resort in Aurelia. The theme is Growing Together, Conservation Lands for All. It's going to provide a valuable opportunity for training, networking, and collaboration for field staff of all 36 conservation authorities. Early bird registration fees are put down here. Their regular registration fees are here. And the workshop will include site visits to Bell Fountain Conservation Area and Chettleham Badlands, dedicated training opportunities and presentations focusing on technology, conservation lands, and community. Early bird registration opens August 15th, 2022. So we're looking at the full authority can authorize one staff member to attend the annual Conservation Areas Workshop Conference in Aurelia on October 26th and 27th.
I am happy to move that, Lori. I believe that's very important that someone go to these every year.
Thank you very much for that. And Rick, would you like to second that?
I will agree with that. Never get enough education, so I will second that happily.
Thank you. Is there any further conversation or any further questions for Dusty regarding the Conservation Area Workshop Report? Seeing none, we'll consider that adopted. Thank you, Dusty. And we look forward to hearing who is going to be going on behalf of Catfish Creek, and looking forward to their report when they come back after having that workshop done on October 26th and 27th. The next item you have, Dusty, is the fundraising report. Go ahead, please.
So today I'd like to update the board on the status of Catfish Creek Conservation Authority's fundraising activities for 2022. So every time we land a few more dollars, I'd like to make the board aware. We regularly apply for and have been relatively successful in generating funds to support a wide range of non-mandated environmental projects and initiatives. These additional sources of funding allow CCCA to complete important work that would otherwise be impossible to undertake. So recently we have acquired $2,500 from Enbridge Gas Company, and it's going to be used for an ELP planting day. So it will cover all the materials and the plants and the plugs for the kids to plant at one of our local conservation authorities. And the next one is pretty exciting. It's through the Ontario Southwest Tourism Relief Fund, and we received $74,000, $74,920. And the name of the project was the Springwater CA Safe and Socially Distanced Experience. So they were back funding projects that we could have done during COVID that provides more safe and socially distanced experience. So we put in a grant application for the picnic tables we acquired last year. More picnic tables provides a safer and socially distanced experience for people because then they don't have to sit as close together. More hydro to sites. It's also for drawing people in locally to the Southwest region. So they're going to pay for some of the hydro to sites that we were going to have done. It's going to cover the new washroom petitions. The other ones were porous and could not be cleaned properly, which is a problem with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have brand new, they've already been installed, but both the pavilion bathroom and the Pine Ridge bathroom have brand new washroom petitions in it. And it also helped cover the cost of the electronic gates and the controlled access system, because it also keeps our workers away from the general public. That way we're not coming into contact with as many people with the seasonals going through that second gate. So yes, we were able to receive $74,920 for the Springwater CA Safe and Socially Distanced Experience. So today we're just looking at the full authority acknowledge the 2022 fundraising activities and projects as outlined in report FA 38/2022.
Thank you, Dusty. Any questions about that fundraising update? Rick, would you like to go first?
No questions. I think it's great. Well, we are. So I gotta
Thank you.
thank staff for their efforts, and I'd be happy to move this before.
Thank you very much. And Sally, do you have any questions?
No, I just would commend them on getting the grant. That's great. And I would be happy to second it.
Thank you very much. So asking for a second time if there's any questions from the members. Seeing none, we'll consider it adopted. Thank you very much for those reports, Dusty. Our next is your General Manager, Secretary, Treasurer's report. Dusty, the floor again is yours.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. So July 5th, we welcome Al Bradford as the new capacity as Conservation Area Supervisor. We are more than pleased with its efforts since then. On October 7th, 2021, the Regulation 68721 Transition Plans and Agreements for Programs and Services was released. It was passed requiring conservation authorities to submit the quarterly reports. So I've submitted that as per the July 1st deadline. I've started compiling a fee policy. I think I've almost got it together. Our fee schedules do meet the requirements of the new act, so I don't think there's any changes to our fee schedules, but it is required by January 1st, 2023 that we have a fee policy in place. So I've been working away at that, and I have a draft that I'm going through. Made the draft blanket memorandums of agreements for the municipalities. I created a draft planning memorandum of agreement, which was shared with upper management for comments and amendments. I appeared on 94.1 MyFM's Destination Local to endorse Springwater Conservation Area and all of its amenities. I finalized the agreement for the Ontario Southwest Tourism Relief Grant in the amount of $74,920. I'd like to take a second again to commend staff. There's been great group efforts on grant work this year, great communication. And I think what everybody's doing here is a godsend, and it's working very well. I met with all upper management from all 5 member municipalities to discuss the draft inventory. I completed a survey on the Conservation Authority University. I think I was able to provide very valuable responses as I was a graduate of the 2022 class. I completed performance appraisals for staff. I was. Yes, I was. Completed continual support to the green roof stage. I am happy to say there's been a mason on site The water line is dug in the ground. The green roof is coming on August 26th. The whole building should be done very early September. So Jake has made a good last ditch effort here. He's been out here every day. The ceiling's complete now on the inside. Pool and electric will be here Monday to do the electricity. So the stage has come along. It's immensely in the last few weeks. Finalized and put together the Elmer District Chapters Association agreement for the year. Received the approval for the Enbridge grant and fulfilled all the works that went with that. I sat in on the consultation regarding Oxford County's OP update. Staff from Oxford County are looking for information regarding subwatershed studies and related water resource information to help feed into the update as it pertains to water resource systems, as well as flood mapping updates in relation to natural hazards for the county's OP. Myself and staff are investigating possibilities for submission to the Natural Infrastructure Fund grant. Its objectives are to build community awareness of the value and opportunities of natural and hybrid infrastructure and to increase its uptake and use across Canada. I completed both Conservation Ontario and the province's annual statistical surveys. I completed a survey for the Auditor General in regards to invasive species. The responses are to inform the report that will be established later this year, where recommendations to the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and the Invasive Species Center will be provided to improve invasive species management in the province of Ontario. I attended an information session hosted by Conservation Ontario on the Conservation Land Inventory, a mandatory deliverable due December 31st, 2024. I had also attended a webinar regarding the introduction of the Phase 2 regulations, the second part of the transition period ending December 31st, 2024. Staff launched the park fundraiser, again, between the park staff, our finance and our communications person. I couldn't have asked for a better park fundraiser launch. Public's getting pretty receptive with it. I think the whole layout and everything was fantastic. So kudos to staff who worked on that project. I attended Conservation Ontario's AGM virtually. I have completed the spray program for the town of Elmer. A letter of proposal was sent to the INS in regards to donation towards the new public. We worked out a day to meet with the Port Bruce.
Dusty, can you repeat that, please? You're breaking up.
Oh. We completed a letter of proposal to the Springfield Swans and St. Thomas Lions Lioness in regards to a donation towards the new playground. I worked out a day to meet when we met with the new Port Bruce Ratepayers Association. They had a very big turnover in their panel and they want to streamline to their original mandate. And they're looking to work with the Conservation Authority to do whatever they can to help. So during flood season, there's people that live right along the creek that may have ice augers and they might go out their backyard and drill a hole and report some ice depths to us. They're happy to take depth of snow to report in different areas. So they're pretty progressive and I think it could be a good working relationship. When we organized a meeting with Denise Love from the STEAM Center to go over the preliminary design work the students have completed in regards to our multilingual signage out of trailheads in the Springwater Campground. It will make a more accessible experience for people who have language barriers, providing them with the information they require in regards to Springwater Campground. And that is my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Dusty. Are there questions from the members, please?
Not a question, just a comment, Lori. Dusty did attend the environmental committee meeting this morning for Central Elgin as well.
Thank you. And Dusty, are you going to give the Lake Erie Resource Protection update at our next meeting?
The Lake Erie Regional Management Committee,
Yes.
that'll come out at our next source protection meeting.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Anything from you, Rick?
No, I'm good.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Dusty. Can I get a mover? Rick, would you like to move that?
I certainly
We
will.
don't normally move that one.
Thank you for that reminder. Sorry, I'm heading back up through my agenda. Got 3 computers on the go here. Reading through that report at the same time Dusty was presenting it. Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any items of unfinished business? Sally, would you like to provide any further updates to this morning's meeting? That Dusty
No,
attended?
It's just our environmental committee there, we set our budget for, a proposed budget for 2023 and what projects we're going to work on environmentally and, that's, I don't know that I need to present anything more.
No, it was an item of interest. Thank you, because you had said about Dusty attending this morning. So I thought you would like to provide.
Dusty attends on behalf of Catfish Creek. Originally Emily did, but now Dusty is our rep on there, and Betsy McClure from Kettle attends as well.
Thank you very much for backfilling that for us. Very much appreciate it. Rick, is there any item of unfinished business from you?
No.
Thank you. Seeing nothing, we'll go forward for the chair report and board members report. I'll let the board members go first. Since there was no items of unfinished business, is there any other additional items from the board members?
I don't have any, but I will let you know. I assume most of you know by now that I have now put my name in for Councillor Ward 2. I was very concerned with the only two that had put their name in, one whose spouse works in our finance department and the other one who doesn't live in the ward and didn't believe in the pandemic or any of that. So I said, no, sorry. I will put my name in again.
Congratulations, Sally, from staff at the CCCA, and good luck in your running.
Thank you. And Rick, I'm sure you've submitted your papers again?
Yes.
Thank you. So the
I
three
don't even
members
think
in
he's being contested.
I believe all three members that are attending today have already submitted their nomination papers. And good luck to everyone with that,
Yes, good luck, everyone.
with the deadline being today.
Yeah, should be passed by now. I've got a guy running against me and he doesn't live in the ward either, so I don't know what's going on. And I noticed Scott Lewis has a gentleman now running against him whose last name is Hildebrand. So I don't imagine, I just can imagine what's gonna happen there.
Oh,
So underneath the chair report, just a couple of quick items. I still do the drive-bys. I will be, full disclosure, the last 9 days I've been without a vehicle. So I have not been able to do those drive-bys, but I do go by Springwater all the way down to Port Bruce and check on things pretty much on a nightly basis, except for the last 9 days or so. I also did attend the Resource Protection Committee meeting, and I have been able to send Dusty some information on green municipal funds, et cetera. And because of all of the activities that I've been doing on the National Climate Caucus Committee, I have now been requested to join the national board. So I will be doing that as of September. So hopefully information received from that and funding opportunities, et cetera, because I'm now going to be on the board of directors, hopefully we'll be able to access information a little quicker, a little easier, et cetera. So that being said, looking forward to things happening and moving in a very quick, rapid succession moving forward. So are there any notices of motions from any of the members? Any items of new business? Okay, then Dusty, I'll throw it back to you for correspondence. The correspondence registry.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions about any of the correspondence? We had 2 things in the mail this time, so we've attached those as well, but other than that, I think they were both pretty straightforward.
Any questions?
I'm
for Dusty?
glad that you're working. Yeah.
Go
I'm
ahead,
glad
Sally.
that you're working with, I'm glad that you're working with Malahide and that Mr. Duffett and the Port Bruce ratepayers are wanting to be involved. So I think that's a good thing.
Excellent.
The more they know, the better.
Well, I think communication is the key. Making sure that we have a two-way communication is very, very important moving forward. one of the best practices, what we've had from the takeaway from those meetings with the Malahide ratepayers. Anything else? Okay. Next item is, do we need a motion to approve the correspondence, or is it by consensus?
Yes,
No, we usually,
Normally by consensus.
we have a motion to approve it.
Thank you. Sally, would you like to move it, please?
I will move the correspondence, that we accept
Thank-
the correspondence presented, yes.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. So asking if there are any questions the second time. Hearing none, we consider those adopted. Thank you very much. Next is going into closed session.
We don't have anything for closed session today.
Thank you very much. Is there anything from the members in regards to closed session?
No, the only thing I would suggest that this has been very difficult, this trying to do this online, I must admit. Could we not at least meet in the schoolhouse next time where we can really spread out? It would be far better, as far as I'm concerned, if we can meet in person.
We could meet in person, I think, again next month. This was just because of the little COVID experience we had in the office here. A lot of people had heavy itineraries a few weeks after that and stuff, so it was in everybody's just best interest for this one to be virtual. I would way rather have it in person again, so I think for the September one, we can meet back in our boardroom even.
Okay.
I agree with you, Sally, but we'll continue to monitor it and make sure that we meet appropriately, whether it's in person, on site at the schoolhouse, inside the boardroom, or even Arthur has sent a message saying he is still offering the Legion if we need to continue to socially distance. So we have those three options. We will monitor it. I will monitor it directly with Dusty, and we'll come to the conclusion as to where the next meeting will be.
The one thing I would say is, for safety, we could always meet out one of the pavilions, but we wouldn't likely be able to live stream it from there, that's all.
And I think we'll also have a problem with getting everybody connected.
Yeah, and we only have to live stream the ones that the public cannot attend. So if we meet in person anywhere, we could still open up that window and the general public, as long as they have an avenue to come, we don't have to record the meetings.
Thank you for that information, Dusty. So if there is nothing further on that, I'm going to just move forward. And is there any possibility to get a motion for adjournment? Rick, would you like to move that? Okay, Sally moves. Rick, second. Calling the question a second time. Is there any questions on the adjournment? Thank you for your attendance today, everyone. We are now adjourned at 2:27 p.m. Take care of yourselves, staff. Enjoy the rest of the summer, but most importantly, stay well and get healthy. We're thinking of you.
Thank you, everybody. Madam Chair, you make sure you have an excellent weekend as well. That's a big weekend for you. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much. That I will do. Bye for now, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.